The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Welcome everybody to the final instalment of the Tourism Australia and State Partners, a partnership with Signature Travel Network. This is our last webinar. It's been a 6-month series and we really appreciate everybody's attendance throughout the 6 months. It's been a fantastic partnership between the Australian community and Signature Travel Network. This last instalment is There's Nothing Like Cruising Down Under. The state partners that are with me is Amanda Ladd from Australia's Outback with the Northern Territory, Lisa Cohen with the South Australian Tourism Commission, and Sandy Nerlich from Tourism Western Australia. And my name is Matthew Jones. I'm with Tourism Victoria. I'm going to be running through you a little bit of an introduction into some cruise ships that come through Melbourne, and also some of the different things you can do on shore excursions and the like while your clients are experiencing fantastic cruise experiences down in Australia. So, of course, we're just going to start this off beautifully. Here we go, just to reiterate where Melbourne, Victoria is located on the map of Australia. We are Australia's smallest mainland state. You can fly directly into Melbourne on Qantas daily on the A380, or 3 times a week on Virgin Australia out of Los Angeles. And also, don't forget, we can connect. There is a United Airlines flight that does connect through Sydney into Melbourne, so a great starting point for any trip. I would be remiss to advise everybody to, if you have any questions throughout the presentation, at the very last slide of our presentation includes all our contact details. So any questions about Australia and, more importantly, our specific regions, please don't hesitate to email any one of us, and we'll be more than happy to help you out. But yet we do appreciate your attendance. So a little bit more about cruising and Victoria. These are some of the brands. This is not limited to the brands that come down to Melbourne, Victoria, and the rest of Australia. A number of these cruise ships will start in Auckland and cruise across to Sydney, experiencing not only Australia but New Zealand as well. So a lot of very trusted brands there. Princess Cruises, Royal Caribbean, Celebrity Cruises, Holland America, and of course the luxury Seabourn brand. Crystal Cruises also does cruises down into Australia and New Zealand. A lot of variety of different boats. You guys are the experts of the cruise industry in terms of the different boats and the cabins and the like, but I just wanted you to be aware of the cruise brands that do stop into Melbourne. I'm going to talk a little bit about the things that you can do while you're on the cruise ship, so a lot of the shore excursions, and I'm just going to highlight a few of the reasons why people would know about Melbourne, Victoria. So here's an image of the great state of Victoria. I'll be concentrating on that section 1 there, Melbourne City, with a lot of our day excursions going out into regional Victoria. So when people get off the boat and have that day free in Melbourne, that they're able to do a lot of experiences, and for you guys to pre-book those tours, because that'll build into your commission, of course, and it's better to get them pre-booking everything because we don't want them to miss out while they're on the ship. So here's some images of Melbourne. This is our Yarra River and Skyline. I'll be highlighting this a little bit later on. This is one of the day tours that you can do, of course, but this is Melbourne City. The Yarra River goes right through the middle of the city, similar feel to a Chicago, just with a little bit warmer weather. Of course, you can see some hot air balloons in the morning. This is very commonplace in Melbourne. One of the only few cities in the whole entire world that allows you to fly a hot air balloon over the city centre. Here is one tour that you'll be able to do, our Labyrinth of Laneways. It's a tour company called Hidden Secrets, which I'll be showing later. But this is our coffee culture here. This is where the Melburnians go to have their lunches, their coffees, their catch-ups. And something your clients can experience as well. Fantastic architecture through Melbourne. An example here, this is Parliament House. And all those labyrinth laneways and arcades lead into different rooftop patios, bars, restaurants that your clients will be able to experience. There's a different journey behind every door in Melbourne. It's a catchy little phrase, but it's actually true. You'll have a great experience when your clients are down there, really getting immersed in the city. Where they dock at the Port of Melbourne, it's only a short 20-minute drive into the city, and so your clients can do things at their leisure if they're not looking to do a pre-booked tour. Here, is, of course, is Eureka Sky Deck. 88th floor is our observation deck. You can have a fantastic view over the city. great experience for your clients to get a little bit of orientation overlooking the city if they're not interested in the hot air balloon, of course. Also, you can do pre-tours or post-tours after your cruise, maybe do 2 or 3 nights in Melbourne, but we are cognizant that a lot of the cruise ships do come into port, so you're able to do the day tours as well. Plenty of options whenever you go to Australia on any cruise itinerary. So some of our events that we're well known for is our Australian Tennis Open, our Formula One Grand Prix, the Melbourne Spring Racing Carnival, and of course Melbourne Food and Wine Festival in March. Tickets are easily accessible out of the North American market. A lot of your preferred wholesale partners do offer tickets, so maybe you can do a pre and post around some of the cruise ship dates. That might be an opportunity for your clients to do some major world-class events while they're down in Australia, a great talking point. Some of the shore excursions that I wanted to highlight for you, you can do the City Drive and a Yarra River cruise, so get your clients out into the city. This will be a coach tour through the city and a Yarra River cruise sort of to give you a bit of diversity. The Yarra River cruise obviously is a small part of it, realising that you're going from a boat to a boat, but this is one of the more popular tours. The historic Melbourne and Old Jail, so this is the jail of Melbourne. This is where Ned Kelly, who's a famous bush ranger, was actually hung. So this is Pentridge Prison. It would be a great little tour for clients to do to sort of get a little bit of our old history. Obviously, we're all convicts down in Australia. We were removed from London for stealing loaves of bread and the like. So a great historical tour to get a little bit of a background of Australia and how we came to be. Some more touring options is Melbourne by Colonial Tramcar. So this is like the trolleys that you have in San Francisco. You're able to do a tour throughout the city on a Colonial Tramcar. Great way to immerse yourself in the city. And this is a new tour that's very, very popular, a horseback ride through wine country and wine tasting. So this is a tour run out of the Mornington Peninsula. It's a horseback winery tour. Maximum 20 people go on this horseback tour. And you go to 4 wineries and a chocolate factory, very popular off the ships. If they don't pre-book it, they might miss out. So please make sure you get this locked in for any of your clients that are looking to come into Melbourne and are interested in some wineries and a bit tired of the sea legs and want to go horse riding. It's a fantastic experience. The Hidden Secrets City Walking Tours. Melbourne's a great walking city. So this is to experience how the locals experience Melbourne. You're guided by a local Melburnian, and they'll walk you through all the laneways and arcades talking about. There's a coffee culture tour, there's a walk through an architectural tour, and a Similarities City Walk tour, which is taking you all to the different bars and restaurants, having your clients really immerse themselves in the culture that is Melbourne. We are the cultural capital of Australia, so big on food, big on fashion, big on wine, so you'll be able to pick out a lot of great restaurants and cafes that your clients can experience on their free day while they're in port. But that's a quick snapshot of Victoria from me. My name, of course, Matthew Jones. My contact details are here. They will be at the end slide as well. And now I'm just going to pass you on to Amanda Ladd from Australia's Outback, the Northern Territory, to experience the great outdoors. Thank you.
Great. Thanks so much, Matt. Hi, everyone. As Matt said, thanks again for joining us for our last webinar. I'm going to go ahead and dive into the Outback of Australia, the Northern Territory. So we are situated in the center of Australia, and Central Australia up through the north. We do have beautiful coastline at the top of the territory, as you can see here. The blue and green regions at the top of the map are our coastlines. Great for expedition cruising. Darwin is our port as well, very convenient to Asian locales. But what I want to talk about today is a bit of a different take on cruising. But first we'll start in Darwin. So we have the Gun. So the Gun is what we call our land cruise. It is one of the great train journeys in the world. So it's definitely something unique and different, and you're not wanting for anything with the Gun, which is fantastic. So it's the 84th year of the Gun this year, so it has been around for quite some time. And they've added new inclusive off-train touring. So you have your touring included when you book on the Gun in the gold or platinum cabins. And they've also increased luggage allowances. This is really exciting, so please tell your clients that now if you're in the gold, you get 2 55-pound bags, and if you're in platinum, you get 3 55-pound bags. And that's really good news because, of course, with international flights, you have a lot of baggage, it's very heavy, and now It's not a problem at all. You can take it with you and experience this fantastic journey. So we'll go ahead and get started here. This, of course, is the route of the GONE. We highly recommend taking it from Darwin south. And the reason for this is it departs Darwin in the morning around 10 a.m. And when you go to sleep in the evening, you wake up the following morning to the sunrise in Alice Springs. And the reason this is so cool is that you fall asleep with the tropical, lush top end, and then you wake up with the more arid red desert landscape. So it's a really cool contrast, really great way to experience the territory. And as I mentioned, there are 2 off-train tours included. The first is in Catherine. You'll see just below Darwin up on the top end. You have 3 different touring options. There's a gorge cruise, there is a rock art cruise, and there's also a cultural experience. So it's a great way to get a little bit of river cruising and land cruising all in one day there. And then in Alice, you have the option of visiting the Desert Park, exploring the Royal Flying Doctor Service, the Telegraph Station, the Reptile Center, and an Explore Alice tour. Or you can do the Pindang Camel Trek, so you can take a camel ride through the outback. So really cool inclusions. And then, of course, from Alice, you can continue on south into Adelaide. So starting in Darwin, that's where we're going to go ahead and get started. So in the top end, this is where you're going to start your tour as recommended anyway. You can also start either from Adelaide or Alice. But getting to or from Darwin, of course, you have Qantas, you have Virgin, you have Jetstar, and you also have international airways including Philippine Airlines, Singapore Airways, and American Airlines. So it's easy to get to Darwin. It's a great place to start. You can do your harbor cruising when you get to Darwin. There's some great locales for sitting on the beaches, watching the sunrises and sunsets. Great brunch spots right on the beach. You also have scenic flights, which are really cool. And then you have Crocosaurus Cove if you want to really immerse yourself and get a little, bond a bit with the famous Northern Territory saltwater crocodiles. You can hold some of the smaller ones, or you can go ahead and jump straight into the water and dive with them at Crocosaurus Cove. This is what they call the cage of death. So you're able to go into the water with the crocs, similar to great white shark diving, but you are in a cylindrical cage, so don't worry, you are not literally in the water with them. You do have a nice little safety net for yourself there. Really unique experience. There's also some great markets with local indigenous fruits and foods, great local spices. You have the sunset markets, and the one thing that is really unique is that it is very close to Asia, so you have a lot of Asian influence. It's a mixing pot in Darwin, so it's a really great way to meet some locals, try some really unique local cuisines. Great way to end your day in Darwin, head out to the beach, eat your dinner, and take a nice sunset walk along the beach. Definitely a fantastic way to start. Wake up the next morning, and you're going to leave Darwin on the GONE. They leave Wednesday morning on the GONE. That is how the schedule works. Wednesdays at 10 a.m., you're going to hop on the GONE, and you're going to start heading south. Your options, there are 3 different options. You have I'm only going to focus on platinum and gold. The reason for this is when you have travelers from North America wanting to go, they really want to experience it. They want to take it as a land cruise. They want to be luxurious. They don't just want to be transported. So your options are platinum or gold for this. So we'll start with platinum. Platinum service, there are 20 berths for platinum, so keep that in mind. It is much more limited than gold. So the table you'll see there, it is a movable table, and it has 2 little ottomans underneath. So during the day, it's great. You have morning or afternoon tea served straight to your cabin. You have an ensuite facility with a full-size shower, vanity, cupboard space, really, really luxurious. You come back after you go to dinner, your bed is made, gorgeous sunset, everything's ready for you. It converts into a double or a single bed. And then the one thing that I really love about the GONE and their new inclusions and the way that they've done it is that you have panoramic windows. So you have a window on both sides of your bed, which for being on a train, that's really, really cool. So it's great views from both sides of the train. You do have a lockable door and in-cabin safe. So it's very much, as you can see, very much similar to a cruise, a stateroom in that regard. And you also have room service and platinum service. So it is definitely very much a land cruise, very comparable in that regard. And you have a complimentary nightcap as well to top off your evening. The second class I mentioned is the gold service, which you see here. And there are 192 berths in gold service. You also have a compact in-suite facility. You see the little wash basin there under the window. And the shower and toilets are at the end of the carriage. So it's a bit more like a train, I would say, in that regard. Definitely a very unique experience. You again, go to dinner, come back, your beds are turned down, ready for you to get into. It's a really great way to really make your journey between Darwin and Alice really unique and special. You have the Outback Explorers Lounge, which is a great cozy setting. You can go and have a drink. There's a little souvenir shop. You know, get to mix and mingle with other travelers on the train. Most of the passengers on the Gone are Australian, so it's a really cool way to, you know, really indulge yourself in the culture there. And then you have the Queen Adelaide Restaurant, which is where you're going to be dining. Panoramic views, again, in the dining car, which is really cool. There are flexible times now, so you can actually make a reservation when you check in on the Gone for your own seating time, so you're not told to be you know, at your table or your reservation at a certain time. You get to choose that, which is very, very nice. All of the food for the restaurant is actually cooked online, and you have 2-course lunches. There are a bunch of different options, 3-course dinners. Vegetarian meals are available, just, you know, advised at the time of booking. So very nice, high quality. You know, you're not getting prepackaged food. It is prepared fresh on the train. So that's
Hang on just one second, guys. It seems like we have a technical difficulty.
Hey, Lisa, I think Amanda, unfortunately, it shows that she's gone offline. I don't think she's currently on.
Okay. Well, we can definitely have her follow up with you for the rest of her presentation. I'm going to go ahead and skip through. This is Lisa with South Australia. I'll go ahead to our portion here.
It's a natural progression from the Gone train down into South Australia as well, so it flows nicely, doesn't it, Lisa?
It does, it does. Perfect. Okay, so here's Amanda's contact info here. Feel free to follow up with her for the remainder of any questions. But I am happy to talk to you about cruising to South Australia. And just to give you an overview of our map here, where we are located, you'll see at the bottom is the capital city of Adelaide. And unfortunately, you cannot fly direct into Adelaide at this time, so you'd have to connect via Sydney or through Melbourne, or, you know, as Amanda had mentioned, up in Darwin to take the Gone south. But this is great because there are a lot of cruise ships that will service this area, and one of the best ways to get into Adelaide is via ship. So there are a number of cruise liners that do service the area, and South Australia has 2 berths and 2 anchorages available for cruise lines to add to their itineraries. There's one, the Port Adelaide Passenger Terminal, and then there's also one in Port Lincoln, and a new one in Penishaw, which I'll be talking about, which is servicing Kangaroo Island. And there's also a port available in Robe. But the 2 that I'll be focusing on today are Adelaide and Kangaroo Island. So you'll see here I just threw in a couple of the dates for the upcoming cruise ships for the remainder of this year. And then I've included a calendar of the upcoming 2014 year. So you can see there are a number of various different cruise liners that are going to be visiting the Adelaide port. Basically two to 3 times a month, if not more. So it's great to see the available schedule and some flexibility there in planning the itinerary. And so while you're in Adelaide, when you do dock, what are some highlights that you can do? You'll see here on the grid of the overview of the map, it's a very easy city to navigate. It's based on a grid system, and actually, to counter Matt's point earlier, this is the only region in Australia that was not settled by the convicts. So you can see that there's a little bit of a different approach in the way that the city was built. But there are a number of highlights that are easy to get to when you are arriving and doing some post-cruise touring around the city. This is just an overhead view of the city and the river that runs through it, and the majority of the central business district and a lot of the attractions are sort of centered along the waterways here, which is a really fantastic way to kind of hop off, get some fresh air, stretch out those sea legs, and see what's going around town. And one of the highlights that we love to suggest for people that have some day touring availability is to do the Aboriginal Culturals Gallery. It has the biggest collection of Aboriginal artifacts in all of Australia. So this is a really, really simple thing to access because there's no set times or reservations you need to make. It's a free tour that you can walk in at any time. So it's really flexible for those that are just wanting to wander around town. But for the most part, I think people think of South Australia for its wine. And within an easy day tour, you can go to the home of Penfolds, which is, I think, probably the most famous wine label for Australia. It's just 15-20 minutes from the city center, and this is where you can actually go and taste the famous Grange, which I think retails between like $400 and $500 a bottle. So for people that are really into wine and maybe don't necessarily have the time to go into a wine region on their trip, this is a nice way to kind of get a taste of the wine country and some of the best wine of Australia. But the Barossa, I think, is definitely a region that is easy to accommodate when people are on a cruising itinerary, especially for a day tour. It's just 45 minutes from the city center by car, and there are a number of private guides that you can hire to take you up, or if you are renting a car, getting a group together. It's a really simple way to get into what's considered the Napa Valley of Australia. This is Australia's wine capital. This is the home of the Shiraz and the Riesling and Cabernet Sauvignon. Multiple generations have been producing wine in this region for a number of years, and I think that's something that's so unique, is to be able to literally just hop off the ship and have the gateway to one of the most incredible wine regions at your doorstep within under an hour. So it's a really fantastic and versatile destination to include in the itinerary. As I mentioned, the oldest Shiraz vines in the world, I think for wine and foodies or people that just really love and appreciate a good history and culture will really appreciate time in the Barossa. And as I mentioned, private tour guides are a fantastic way to do that in a very timely manner as well. If you only have the day to spend and you have to get back to Adelaide later on that evening, they know exactly where to go. You can tell them, oh, I'm kind of a red drinker, or I prefer, white Rieslings. They know exactly the winemakers to call up, and I think the relationships are very key. You have a unique experience. I don't think you're going to get whisked away and have the run-of-the-mill wine tour. I think you can really expect to have something different and a little bit exclusive, and meeting some fun characters around, along the way. And I think that's the beauty of the Barossa region, is the fact that these people, this is their home. They've been doing this for a number of years, and they're excited to share their story and their winemaking with you. But Kangaroo Island, I think, is probably becoming a more popular cruise destination these days because they've added a new port in Penishaw. They've sort of developed it out. It's always been there. I think for the last decade or so there have been smaller ships that are able to be coming into the area, but now it's able to accommodate these larger cruise ships. And you'll see a number of the vessels that are listed there through the end of the year and all through next year as well. So it's able to accommodate the larger capacity to explore the island. And it's really known as Australia's Galapagos. This is why people come to Kangaroo Island, is to see the wildlife in the wild. I think you'll get off the ship and to think about where you arrive in Kingscote and Penishaw, that's really the township. That's where you'll get the art galleries and maybe some little lunch and coffee shops and get a taste of the local community there. But the more west you go, the more wild the island becomes, and that's where you really get to see the kangaroos and the koalas hiding up in the trees. Or Seal Bay, I think, is probably one of the best ways to spend your day cruising around Kangaroo Island. This is a private stretch of beach with a colony of rare Australian fur seals and sea lions, and you can actually walk on the sands with them. Nobody's strategically placed them there. It's not a zoo. It's an actual habitat for these creatures that you have a guided experience walking down on the sand with them and getting up close with them. And private four-wheel drive tours are fantastic as well. I think it's great to arrange in an itinerary the opportunity to meet with a local expert and have them kind of take you around the highlights of the island. And, it's a huge island, and I think people don't expect and they underestimate the size of Kangaroo Island. It's probably about 3 hours to drive across from beginning to end. So being able to really maximize your time on a day tour to Kangaroo Island, I think, is really beneficial to look into some options around the port area, and they know exactly where the family of kangaroos are hiding. They know where the koalas are in the trees. They can cook you a little barbecue lunch in the bush. You can go wine tasting. There's artisans that are sort of tucked away all throughout. So I think it's really advantageous for people to hook up with the local experts who are really excited to share all of their friends on the island with you. And of course, the natural wonders, I think, are the biggest draw here as well. There are certain scenic parts that you just can't miss. One here is the Remarkable Rocks, which is this natural rock formation that overlooks the coastline there. It's truly sensational if you're there at the right time of the day. And then Admiral's Arch is not far from there as well. It's basically just these collection of coves that are just, with the dramatic coastline there, the water, the way that it hits along the rocks, and here it's at sunset. It's really awe-inspiring, and it's probably one of the most beautiful parts of the island. But that is it for me. Please feel free to contact me at any time with any questions about maybe the cruise schedules or some of the other day tours that you can do out of Adelaide or out of Kangaroo Island. But my contact info is listed there. And feel free to jump onto southaustralia.com for other ideas and full schedules of itineraries. Thanks so much. And with that, I will pass it over to Sandy for Western Australia.
Thanks, Lisa, very much. Today we'll talk about Western Australia. Western Australia, the name, of course, is a dead giveaway. We're located on the west side of Australia. We have 8 gateways to explore when looking at Western Australia, and I'm going to talk a little bit about those today. Just last year, Tourism Western Australia opened our cruise division and decided that we wanted to tap in on the industry because we've seen a major increase coming through the region. And we've got a little bit of delay on this. Not since the days of Australia's gold rush in the 1800s and before the arrival of 164,000 convicts have so many passenger ships sailed towards the land down under. And the reason we say that in Western Australia in the last couple of years we've really seen an increase. And in fact, we've gone from basically in 2010 of 67,000 passengers visiting our shores to 159,000 passengers, which represents an increase of about 235%. And these are some of the cruise lines that are coming to our shores. Many of them I know you'll recognize. Just to give you an update, the Cruise and Maritime Voyages ship, the Astor, which is a 620-passenger vessel, will be operating this summer season out of Fremantle, which is the gateway to the capital city of Perth. We'll have several departures featured primarily in the month of December with 3 varied itineraries. And P&O will base its superliner, the Pacific Jewel, right in Fremantle for 2014-15. And that cruise schedule will see the 70,000-ton super liner sail 7 round-trip cruises to and from Fremantle between March and May. And here's a map of Western Australia and the 8 gateways to the state. We are Australia's largest state. We're about the size, 4 times the size of Texas, with only about 3 million people. We've got 9,000 miles of shoreline for cruise, the large cruise ships to come and visit us. There's a list here of the various ports: Esperance, Albany, Bunbury, Fremantle, Geraldton, Exmouth, Port Hedland, and Broome. You can see from the map there on the left-hand side the state of Western Australia, and it does give you some proximities of distance between some of these locations. The busiest ports in these regions would be Geraldton, Fremantle, Esperance, and Albany are our primary busiest ports, with Broome also doing quite well. Let's talk a little bit about some of these ports. Looking at Esperance, We've got a number of onshore excursions clients can experience when coming to our shores. Esperance is home to Australia's widest sandy beach, known as Lucky Bay. And here at this beach, kangaroos just sit along the edge of the beach there, sunbaking. We have some wonderful four-wheel drive tours that take them to Cape Le Grand National Park where they can see the widest beach. Also, we have some wonderful indigenous tours where clients can get out and meet some of the indigenous families there and learn about their culture and experience some of the activities. Definitely a highlight for coming across from the sea and landing in this beautiful destination. From Esperance, we travel around the map to the township of Albany. When we're talking about Albany, we're talking about 8 hours from the city of Perth to give you an idea of the distance. The beauty about Albany is it's home to one of the oldest whaling stations in Australia. It has since shut down, but it's still there as a museum site, and it's really quite fantastic. You can really see how the whaling was done back in the day and hear the stories and see some of the images and pictures. But it's also the gateway to our southern forests. There's some fantastic four-wheel drive tours that take you to some of the tallest trees in Western Australia, and certainly if not in Australia. From Albany, we head to Bunbury, which just is a couple hours distance from the township of Albany. Bunbury from the coast is actually one of the gateways to our wine region known as the Margaret River. The Margaret River wine region boasts 25% of Australia's premium wines. Considering we only produce 5%, that's pretty good. Great spot for day tours out in to do some wine tasting, follow some culinary trails. Bunbury itself actually offers some wonderful marine experiences. Here, clients can actually swim with the dolphins if they wish, or take a dolphin eco cruise. And lots of wildlife. There's some great cave systems if clients want to tour through some of our cave systems. This really is a natural wonderland. This region is known as the Southwest. It has a Mediterranean climate and is deemed as one of the top 10 regions in the world. It's a biodiversity hotspot where 60% of the flora and fauna here can be found nowhere else on Earth. From Bunbury, we travel to Fremantle. Fremantle is our busiest port. Most people coming to Western Australia on a cruise will definitely stop and pay a visit to Fremantle. It's just a short distance from our capital city of Perth. Within 40 minutes, you can be in the city of Perth. There's some great tour excursions that will take clients either by train, 30 minutes to Perth, or they can hop on a small boat and go across the Swan River that travels up to the city of Perth. And certainly there are some sightseeing tours that will take clients to the city of Perth. What they would find in the city of Perth, some great tours. There is a 2-hour Indigenous tour that goes through the world's largest city park, known as Kings Park. Not far from Fremantle, clients can jump on a ferry and head over to Rottnest Island, which offers some spectacular snorkeling and diving, and is home to the quokka, this unique little creature that's only found at Rottnest Island. The township of Fremantle is quite unique. It does have quite a large maritime history. It also is a well-known convict settlement town. There is the Fremantle Prison, which is World Heritage listed, and the most intact prison in Australia. So clients can go in and do a prison tour. The township of itself is quite charming. There's nothing like visiting the marketplace. Great place for shopping, great oyster bars, great coffee culture here, microbreweries. There's a lot to see and do in Fremantle. Heading up the coast, we're going to travel past the city of Perth. So we were in Fremantle. If we were to drive to Perth, as I mentioned earlier, it's about 30-40 minutes from Fremantle. And then heading up to Geraldton, we're talking about, just to give you a driving distance time, about 4.5 hours. And Geraldton itself is really starting to be the gateway to some of the best marine experiences in Australia. Geraldton itself is a wonderful town with great maritime history, but also fantastic seafood, fishing, There is a war memorial that you see in front of you here from World War II that many guests coming off the ships love to come and explore. If clients are looking to get out and explore some unique marine life, ensure that they take the Abrojos Islands scenic flight. This is a marine wonderland. There's thousands of islands out there, and definitely a highlight coming into the port of Geraldton. From Geraldton, we head up to Port Hedland. Port Hedland is one of our busiest ports, and really it is the gateway to our indigenous culture. Not very far, probably about a 4-hour tour from the township of Port Hedland, which has about 20,000 people. They can experience World Heritage listed Karijini National Park, and here they'll find great rock art, great access to Aboriginal culture, beautiful canyons, gorges, waterfalls, and really a great contrast to some of the other ports that we spoke about earlier. Leaving Port Hedland, we head up to Exmouth. Exmouth is the gateway to our Ningaloo Reef. It is the world's largest fringing reef closest to shore. What that means is simply you don't have to take a day trip out to experience the reef. You simply can walk straight from the beach and already be snorkeling amongst sea turtles and manta rays. Probably one of the biggest highlights for visitors coming here would be a chance to swim with the whale sharks. And basically, from April through July, clients can come and have a chance to swim with the whale sharks. They're not neither a whale nor a shark, but a really big fish. And there's some fantastic glass bottom boat tours clients can experience, or they can take a safari tour up through the Cape Range National Park to see some of our fantastic wildlife, the big red boxing kangaroos, wedge-tailed eagles, wallabies, and much more. From Exmouth, we go to the top of the state, to the township of Broome. Broome is a famous pearling town, and this is a great chance for clients to get some of our beautiful pearls. They're some of the best pearls, South Sea pearls in the world. Clients can purchase them themselves. Not far from here, you've got some amazing natural attractions. Scatham Point hosts some dinosaur footprints, about 9 sets of dinosaur footprints, which gives you an idea that this is quite an ancient place. Not far from the township of Broome, clients can go along Cable Beach and experience a camel trek, and also head across to some great attractions such as the Bunga Bungles. There's a fantastic opportunity to go and experience a scenic flight from Broome over to the Bunga Bungles. Over about 350 million years old, it really is a sight to behold. So definitely the contrast here in Broome will be its beautiful beaches and rock formations. Just to give you some idea of contacts and people that have been working with us on some inbound touring for shore excursions. Abercrombie & Kent, I know, is preferred with Signature Travel Network. AOT Cruise, Bob Wood Travel Group, Intercruises, and Australian Shoreside Management all have some great itinerary excursions, have been working the cruise business for quite a while, and would have great experience in offering some great choices as an inbound tour operator to some of your preferred wholesalers here in the States. We really are looking at ways to develop our cruise ports in a way that works for clients. We have just recently offered free Wi-Fi at the Fremantle port, so as a way for clients to have easy access once they arrive on port. We always encourage clients coming to any of our ports to download our Experience WA mobile app, which has great offerings of lots of things to see and do, and certainly can do that from the ship and then come to shore, and we can certainly assist with any of those arrangements. Looking to also social media, we are now tweeting our passengers as they come into port, and we'll be offering newsletters going forward. Here are some tools and information on cruising that we have available. We've actually just created the Cruise Western Australia 8 Gateways to Extraordinary Guide, which talks about our ports and gives you some itinerary suggestions. We've got a great cruise shipping handy reference guide available. We've got images to download for any of you that are looking to create flyers or entice clients about coming to Western Australia. Our government site, tourism.wa.gov.au/cruise shipping, also gives you some great resource about cruising in Western Australia. Events and activities at the moment that we're getting involved in. We, of course, attended Seatrade in Miami. We are currently today in Vancouver for Cruise 360 and have explored some of the other destinations for the cruise trade. We are going to start hosting some trade fair mills. As well, we are looking to bid to host the CDU conference in Western Australia in 2014. Stay tuned for that. And then, of course, we will be featuring some upcoming campaigns and promotions to get you all involved with working with us to bring the big ship cruising of Western Australia to your clients. I've given you a cruise contact there, cruise shipping at Western Australia, if you have any questions about cruising. And, of course, I'm always available at sandy.nerlich@Western Australia to answer any questions about the destinations. We've got the cruise shipping schedules, more about the vessels, and some of the partners that are working with us. Thank you for your time and for learning about cruising with us.